Hi everybody, my name is Brian and I'm selling my 68 Silver Streak truck camper, and due to the fact that I've got so many questions, I'm going to go ahead and do a video walkthrough for you guys. My whole objective here is to make sure that you guys have all the information, and I'm not wanting to, I want to make sure that you guys are comfortable and understand all the things that the camper needs and doesn't need, so you feel comfortable with bidding. So without further ado, I'll change the camera mode here and see if we can go through it. Okay, as I said, the camper's a 1968. It's number 168. Rumor has it that there were only 168 made. I don't have any documentation that that's the case, but I did speak with the original production manager for Silver Streak. He may be passed away by now. I don't know. I found him on the local club on the internet. And he was in the hospital at the time. He was emailing me, and he said, best of his recollection, that mine may have been the very last one produced. We don't know that for a fact. It's in really decent condition. Kind of go through the outside of it. The front's been sanded, deanodized, sanded, and polished. Up to it probably has a couple of stages of polish. Probably the stage 3 and then the jeweler's stage remaining on the front. Polishing is definitely a lot of hours involved, and this camper is anodized, so you have to remove the anodization, which really isn't a problem if you know how to do it, which I can detail out for folks if they want to understand how exactly to do that. The tape on the windows, there's no cracks in the windows. That was just there to protect against the polish, and can be easily removed with a razor blade. And you can see up top there's three lights. I have all the original lights, and I'll go show you all of those that can be put back on. And the camper's been covered up in the wintertime, so there's been no leaks or anything like that. There's a few points of interest that I need to point out that have a couple of little pieces of damage here. So here, if you can see in the sun, so these apparently, so the farmer that I got it from down in Fresno, who was the original owner, said that his daughter drove through some sort of a drive-through and clipped the corner of a building. And so these are just creases. The filler there is just really cosmetic, and it's actually looks a lot worse than it is. You can even grind it down and go a lot further. But you can patch that, replace the panels if you wanted to. I had just kind of done this to figure out, kind of exactly what I wanted to do, and I didn't, in case there were any, holes or anything. There actually were a couple of holes because they drilled out in here. There was 3 or 4 different holes, and they drilled them out and pulled the dent out. So just as a temporary fix, I just put the filler in there, and it can be easily removed. Like I said, it's not totally serious, especially in this area here. In this area here, those were just kind of small creases. The 3 holes from the dent were in this piece here. There is one minor little dent here that's not causing any issues, but it could also be fixed if you want to. The other area of concern on this side is there was kind of some dents here. Same thing, I kind of put some filler in there, and I tried to remove it so you could see what the extent of the damage was, but it's really not too bad. And you could reskin this, or just put an aluminum plate over it, like just some small patches, or you could replace it. Just depends on how far you want to go. You could actually remove these rivets. They go all the way around the corner here, and you could replace this panel if you wanted to. This black coating here is just a peelable sticker. It's 3M protective sticker, basically, paint protection, and it's fine behind it. It's not polished, it's still anodized, but I was playing around with it at one point and thought it'd be a good, just to protect it, and it's done a good job. So this panel here has been obviously had some polishing on it, and the gold and the anodization on this side can easily be removed and polished like the other side. And then there's some just small dings here that, you know, kind of ground down just to see what was underneath it. Nothing big. I was getting ready to polish this side, but just never got to it. And it's the same thing with these on the top. I think somebody had affixed some sort of a rack or something at the top, so there were a few holes up there. But like I said, nothing that can't be patched. And there was also, if you see the one in the middle right there, that's where an antenna was, the factory antenna, which is been covered by aluminum tape by the previous owner. This awning here does pull out and is in good condition. You can see some of the pictures that I have online. I'm not going to pull it out today, but there, like I said, there's pictures of it online. Let's see, so okay, so I've been having a lot of questions about measurements, like will this fit in my truck? I am adding to my OneDrive with a bunch of pictures on it, some photographs of the camper and exact measurements of the actual box. So you're just going to want to make sure that you know your truck will be able to fit the width of the box. The length isn't necessarily a problem, and as you can see here, I have a little bit of gap, and that's only because the last time I put it on the truck, I didn't remove my bumper. If I remove the rear bumper, it will go all the way to the front. As you can see here, I still have my bumper on. So, so as far as this truck goes, it fits it perfectly. And this is an 8-foot bed, 97 F250 extended cab, Power Stroke diesel. And the camper isn't too heavy. It's under 2,000 pounds from the original brochure. I think it was said it was 1,960 pounds. I've never had any issues. I don't have airbags on this. I do have some spring helpers, which, I don't know if you can see that, you can flip over and basically changes the spring rate. And if I did that, I had actually no body roll whatsoever, and it rode just fine. You may want to put airbags depending on the truck that you have. Okay, so let's kind of go around here. So the air conditioning unit, as you can see on the top, is original, and it's a little dirty. And there's some solar panels up there as well that were installed a few years ago that are still working perfectly. The air conditioner was always my intent to replace it. However, it does work. It just, I kind of thought I wouldn't want like a newer, more efficient unit that was lower profile. Like I said, and you can only use that on shore power. It just draws too much amperage, and the batteries wouldn't be able to sustain it for very long. So, but it does work. Let's see. So the rear, so these panels down here are fiberglass. I haven't done anything to it. I'm not sure if they were. This is the color it came in, or if that's a primer. It may have just oxidized over time. But those can be, repainted to whatever color you want. It's a fiberglass pan that can be dropped, and then underneath that pan is the plumbing for the bathroom, and has the hookups. Let's see if I can open this little thing here. It's kind of hard with my hand. This is the selector valve to open it up and dump the waste from the waste tank here. And I believe this is what is leaking, that needs the gasket in between here. It needs to be replaced. And as you can see from this angle, there's just a few screws all the way around that come off. I don't even think you need to dump the pan, and you might be able to get to that. I just hadn't got to it. And then I just had a little bungee cord there to keep my stairs from moving. But there's the pan. I know that looks like it's rusty, but it's not. This is just, it's fiberglass. Okay. So as you can see, the trim there was all deanodized. It used to be all the gold. It comes clean. It can be polished just like everything else. You don't need to actually replace the trim. It just needs to be treated and then polished. And then the screws can probably stand to be replaced with the stainless ones, which I've done in a lot of areas. Like here, there's still some that need to be screwed back in, but I've got tons and tons of extra parts and screws. Have replaced the original taillights with LED versions that fit perfectly. I do have at least one of the factory originals. They're very hard to come by. I may have the other one, I'll have to check. But they, over time, have faded, and they just don't look right when you try and paint them. Have a new LED porch lamp, which works great. I have all of the trim, brand new trim pieces, and I'll go through all of the extra pieces that I have in a bit, but they have brand new trim that goes all along this edge when the polishing is completed. Let's go to this side. So, the electronic door lock. Set all of the lights up there I do have ready to be put back on when the polishing is completed. Here's a picture of the original tag. I'm not sure if you can see it. Number 185. 185. This is the vent where the furnace used to be, and I'll go over that on the inside when we get in there. Here's a shot of the other side here. This has been deanodized for the most part. It's got a little bit of the gold left right there. And it's had 2 different stages of sanding done. You could probably do the third stage, which is basically like a 1000 or 1200 sandpaper that's on a pad. You could just put on a regular orbital sander. It's like a Mirka pad. And I have a ton of that stuff, and I'll show you, that comes with it. So this has at least one more stage of sanding, and then to start the 3 or 4 stages of polish, and then whether or not you're going to clear coat it or whatever you're going to do at the end to maintain it, because you will have to continue to polish if you don't clear coat it every like 3 or 4 years. This side is really good. There's really no issues there for being as old as it is. We've got this is where you can fill up the poly tank inside for water, and then this one is for shore water that you can plug in and have permanent water supply from a hose. And then here we've got and I'll open this up. I'll have to get a screwdriver. I'll actually stop here and grab that. Just had to get a screwdriver to loosen this. This cover comes off, and this I've used probably 3 or 4 times. It's one of the newer hot water tanks, and you don't have to come out here and light it or anything. It's all automatic. It works perfectly. This was all installed by Kent RV in Kent, Washington. Okay, so I'm back up here a little bit. I'll give you some views top. A couple of vents up there. It's the vent for the range. Actually, the vent for the range is right here, that middle one, and then this one is the refrigerator access. And then the top, I believe, is a vent from the furnace that used to be there. And then you can see the solar panels and, of course, the air conditioning unit. So, a little bit to do left there. This access panel has the original propane tank. Now you have to get these recertified after every few years, and it was small, and I haven't done that. The tank does work, and when I first bought it, the farmer put some some fuel in it for me to make my trip back up to Seattle, just in case I needed to pull over and sleep for the night, and heat use the furnace, which we actually did use the furnace a couple of times. And I'll kind of get into a little bit more about the furnace when we get inside. So that tank is there. You can refinish it, have it, coated, polished, whatever, and use it if you wanted to, or just take it out and use it as another access area. And then here is where your electricity hookup is, the water waste hookup, and also the drain for the black tank there. So all that works just fine, including the power. Everything's works, no problem. Everything just needs to be finished being polished. Okay, external power here works. These were all replaced when we redid all the electrical on both sides. And then we'll. This has a screen door on it, and I do have the pieces that attach the door. There's there's a piece here that is like a little stopper for the door. I have all those pieces that obviously we pulled off when we were doing the polishing, but I have all of those pieces. Screen doors in pretty good, decent condition. The screen itself could probably stand to be replaced. There's a couple of little small holes in there, and it needs to be polished and cleaned. But everything's in good working condition there. It has this little access panel for the door handle. Okay, so I guess we'll start with all of the wood panels. All of these panels have been, I remade them. Actually, I remade them several times, learning how to do it. Using the exact same materials and exact same measurements that were the factory ones. Factory ones were in decent condition, but they were just really worn and dried out. Like I said, it was in Fresno, in a very hot climate, and the thinner pieces of wood kind of dried out a little bit, so I just decided to redo them all. This closet here has the original diagram in it. The top of it's ripped just a little tiny bit, and this used to be just like a coat closet, and then had the electrical, which still remains today, and this is where the small panel down here is where the furnace used to be, and it was of the era that it's a pretty dangerous furnace and can emanate some nasty toxic fumes and not really necessarily be able to be detected. So Kent RV had told me, these are very dangerous, and a lot of people were suffocating and potentially dying with these. So we decided to pull it out and address the furnace at some other point in time, and so I haven't done that. But what we did is, in temporary, because I wanted a bigger tank, I just use a barbecue tank for the propane, and it's wired into the system, and it works just fine. So this cabinet is dirty, needs to be cleaned up, repainted, and the panel that goes over the top of this probably needs to be remade. So there's a little bit of work to do here. The refrigerator, let's see here, it's a brand new Dometic refrigerator, dual fuel, so it's both electricity and propane. Just needs to be leveled out. Everything works just fine. It's auto. You just turn the on button on and it lights up, and you just choose whether you want gas or electricity, and it works great. Just takes a little bit of time to get cold, 3 or 4 hours or so. Brand new Wedgwood Vision 3-burner stove. I've used it one time, works great. There's also a RCA microwave here, and it works fine. You can even use it when you're not on shore power for short periods of time. Works okay, but it definitely works better when you're connected to shore power. these panels in here, you can see, and I got pictures of all this stuff, and sorry, there's a little bit of mess down there with some cleaners and such, and you can see the backside of the hot water tank there. All the lines and everything are all the new plastic PEX type lines. Brand new pump. Everything works just great. This is the on-off switch for the hot water tank. That's the pump actually, and then this is the water tank. Sorry if you didn't see that. My camera skills aren't that great. So the tanks are fairly empty, so you can hear the pump running. You can see the water, and we're not connected to shore power at this point. This is just running off the batteries and the solar. So yeah, we can actually just turn that on, and maybe we can hear the hot water tank light up. Actually, I don't have the propane on. I can probably turn that on here. Let's see if we can do that. So we just go in here, and I don't know how much propane I have left in that tank. Let's see if we can. Okay, so we're going to turn on the light here, turn the spark, and you can see it's all light up. Just the second one, and the third one. So those all work just great. Turn those off. And then let's see if we can light up the hot water tank here. If we listen carefully, we can hear it light. Let's see if I can get on the inside here. And it's lit. And working just great. Okay, so we can shut that off now. Like I said, there's not any really water in the tank, but you can hear the pumps work just fine. This here, the range I have, and I'll show you, it's just been pulled out because this area here I wanted to redo the backsplash and never really got to it. I did buy the materials and they all come with it. Here's an example of what I had envisioned, and I figured, if I'm going to get rid of it, I'll just leave it up to, whoever is the next owner to decide what they want to do. But I do have all these pieces that come with it if you want to do it. So I had removed this piece. It's the original, and can just be wired back when it has 4 screws and screws back up into everything and connects to this little external vent. The fan does work. You start it up, it's original, so it squeaks for a few minutes and then it works just fine, but probably needs a new fan with new bearings in it. But this is kind of why my original intent was just to put aluminum on the back, but I decided that it might look better with some kind of tile. This is all original as far as the countertops go. They're not in bad condition, they just need to be cleaned up a little bit. There's some smudges of some black paint and stuff here from the cabinets. I did paint these black. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with it or if I had the expertise to be able to deal with the cabinets. So I just decided to work on the faces, and they took me quite a bit of time to do. I have a lot of the trim that I've already had made that fits into some of these places here. I do have that, and they're all cut. They just need to be put back on, or however you want to do it. I have the trim obviously for these pieces here. Got a brand new window cover here. The windows all work. Sorry for the bad camera. Windows all work. The seals probably could stand to be replaced, but they do open and close. They just probably need to be cleaned and cleaned out really well. There's definitely some dirt and stuff in there, but they open and close just fine. And new window coverings in there. Let's see. So this is the escape hatch. When I got it, the escape hatch was probably about 25% smaller, and the mechanism to close it down was broken. And I searched and searched and searched when I first got it and could not find parts that didn't exist anymore. No one made them. So Kent RV put this, it's basically a sunroof out of a car, and it enlarged the hole, built the ring. It can be opened. Sorry, it's kind of hard to do this with one hand, but it can be opened. There we go. And this pin just pops right out, and you can actually get out of there and use it as an escape hatch. So it worked really well. It doesn't leak. No issues. And it was one of the first things I did because I was worried that coming up here to Seattle in the rainy weather that it was going to leak. So I basically drove it up here from Fresno straight to Kent RV, and then they started doing all this work for me with the plumbing, and every bit of the plumbing's been replaced. You can see here's one of the access panels. There's the polymer tank down there. All of the lines have been replaced. All the copper lines have been replaced. So the unit might actually be a little bit lighter, especially because of that poly tank. The galvanized original tank was really heavy. It was full of sediment. I just decided to get rid of it and put a poly tank in there. So all the lines are in the original positions, and the drains are in the original positions when you want to drain the tank. And I can advise everybody of that procedure when you come pick it up. The walls here I have put aluminum, and it goes all the way around, as you can see, all the way to there. It can be easily replaced. It was just riveted in, and the original backing, it's the same material as the ceiling, is back behind there, but I thought my original intent was to put it in and then polish it, and so that can still happen. You can polish the whole thing and it looks great. These are the original cushions. Haven't replaced those yet. They are in pretty decent condition, but there's some they're kind of tattered up on the back and stuff on some of them. Some of them are better than other ones. It turns into a full bed, but the good news is you can use them for patterns when you want to refinish them, and you have the originals to work from. This table comes out, slides in these little grooves right there and right there, and this turns into a bed. And then down here we've got these access panels. Back up here. Those go into the truck bed, and that's for storing the 4 jacks that I'll show you a little bit later on. Like I said, there's still some trim work that needs to be done here. There's a little panel here that could be made. There's just a little bit of extra space I had from putting the microwave in. And it used to have an oven combo with like a 3 or 4 burner, and it was just kind of rusted out and nasty and not really working well. So that's why we decided to kind of upgrade, all the electronics and put the microwave and everything in. There's another access panel there that goes into the other side of the truck bed. The cabinets here, the dividers, I do have the original ones. They probably need to be remade, and maybe there's just some of the owner's manuals and things of some of the electronic pieces that I've gathered over time. And there's actually even, like some of this original 1969 catalog. I think I've only used the camper maybe 3 or 4 times since I've had it, and it definitely gets a lot of attention, let me tell you. Drawers, there's some stuff in there that we'll keep in there. And then all the fronts of the doors have all been redone. Still need the trim here. I have the pieces. This piece here, I rebuilt from scratch. The original one was not in great condition. It was dried out and kind of brittle. So I have left it loose. It just screws in with 4 or 5 screws. And I have the doors all made in there. But I haven't screwed it down for a few reasons, and you can see that this material here has been, it's in primer. It has, it's got this kills on it to kind of kill any smells and bacteria and that kind of stuff. Didn't really smell too bad in here, but I just wanted to have a good primer before, you know, I painted it. So the primer's down, and it kind of looks a little smudgy in places just, you know, from working, but needs to have just everything repainted with the final paint. So that's why this is loose and hasn't been screwed down yet, is because behind there needs to be painted. And if you wanted a little extra room, you could actually just remove that piece. You know, so I figured, you know, it'd be best just to leave it out, and people can decide if they want a little bit of extra leg room or they want to complete the little cabinet that's there. And original trim there, which that trim can be taken off and repainted. Windows open just fine. I have the both knobs. Maybe one that needs to be replaced. There are reproductions which I can point you to that do exist. They could probably all stand to be replaced, although that the one here is metal for some reason, but the other ones are plastic. So the bed, this is just a standard. I think it's a twin. I can't, it's been a little while since I purchased it. It's like a 4-inch foam a mattress with a cover on it. Everything's fine underneath. It needs to be painted with the final paint. It's also got the primer, so it's a little bit dirty down there looking just from all the construction, but it's all solid. It's all solid. There's no rots or nothing that really leaked here. You can, you know, see there was no real water damage. It's been really, really good. I think we were lucky that it was in the Fresno area. There is a flat panel that I put in here. Vizio flat panel. It works great. They had an old radio unit in here, so it had a hole I needed to fill. I kind of wanted to not have anything here, but I decided to, you know, fill it for now. It's a touch screen. Everything works just fine. Again, we're not on shore power. This is strictly on battery. It's a little Kenwood deck, and everything works fine. There's one speaker there and one over there. So people can decide if they want to have the cabinets refinished to keep those, or just leave them there. Everything works great. It's got a great little sound system, and it integrates in with the TV, so you can watch TV and have great sound. Cabinets here, these ones are pretty good. Got some wiring back there for the stereo that runs along the back, so that could be tidied up a little bit, but for the most part, this cabinet's in pretty good shape. I do have the pieces that go here that you know, would cinch this down, kind of like on this side of here off of all the originals. And there is a place that is doing reproduction ones. These were originally brass, and so I tried a number of ways. I don't really like the brass look, so my intent was to kind of use like a nickel finish, something similar to those. So there is one place that's doing reproductions of these that do have nickel ones that I just didn't get around to purchasing yet. So those are available, or you can use the originals and polish them, or find a way to make them, you know, look decent without making, you know, going to the hassle of buying new ones. We got a new lamp here. Works great. Everything runs on the 12 volt. This thing on the side here is wired in. We've got some LEDs that's under cabinet, I guess under the cabinet, yeah. And that works great. It's just external, so if you don't like that, that can be easily removed. But it's just kind of a nice cool little touch you can have at nighttime. You can make it any color you want to. This is the inside of the AC unit. Like I said, I don't have it plugged into shore power, so I can't really turn that on and show you. But it does work, and it does blow cold, believe it or not. I did paint the cover black. It was a nasty off-white color, you know, dirty looking when I first originally got it, so I pulled it off and repainted that. Here's the solar setup. Right now it's producing 13.7 volts, 4.4 amps, and its batteries are completely full, as you can see. Down here, this is a switch for some lights that are one's there. Another one is there. It's just basic floor, so if when you get in here at night, and you can just reach for that switch and it'll turn on. And there's another one here that just needs, it's sitting inside of this cabinet with some of the other lights. Oh, there's the original other taillights, have them both. And it looks like the other Silver Streak sign is in there as well. So it just needs to be connected back up, and it's sitting right there. It's an LED. So back to the battery system here. So it's got the twin 6-volt batteries in there, the golf cart batteries, wired in series, and they're deep cycle, and they work great. I have not been able to get this thing to draw it all the way down, not ever. And I honestly haven't worked on this camper in probably 7 or 8 months. So it's great that the solar system is just working exactly like I wanted to. It's basically, off grid. And unless you want AC, you really don't need to connect it at all. Here's the Renogy MPPT solar charge controller. I spent extra money on getting the MPPT version, and it works great. It's a lot more efficient than the other type, which I can't remember the name off the top of my head. It's been a while since I've installed this. And then you can see, hopefully you can see back in the back there, that's the inverter. And there's details on what that is and the model and everything else on the ad, including all of the little 12 volt connections, and you got your fuse back there, and those are the some of the drains for the water that go into the shower. And then again, the back here, the switch for the outdoor light there for the porch light. So into the bathroom, a lot of this has been redone. There's still a few things that need to be finished. The lights work. These containers have never been used. The shower, I've used the shower once. New fixtures. It's all been, this used to be pink, this really nasty pink. So there's this special coating that you can get at Home Depot. There's kits to refinish your bathtub, and that's kind of what we've used here. It could stand to have maybe just a little bit of touch up, just in a couple little spots, like right there. And I do have the mirror, although the mirror, the backing after, it's the original one, so since 1968, the backing's kind of coming off a little bit, so that probably needs to be replaced with a new mirror, and it probably doesn't need to be as thick because it's a really, really heavy piece. It's a brand new Dometic toilet. The other one was in fine condition. But Kent RV had this one, and they'd had it in their warehouse for quite some time, and they offered me a really good deal on it, so I decided to upgrade the toilet. It's never been used because we've not fixed that little seal on the gray water tank, although when it's filled with water, everything works just fine. You put your foot down here to flush it, and water does flow. So this gold trim, I thought I was going to take out and take the anodization off and then reinstall. I do have the pieces that go here when I was kind of thinking about how I wanted to redo things. I also found some aluminum strip that I can replace this with, that comes with it if you don't feel like doing the work to de-anodize it, but they've just been drilled out, and so I have the original pieces as well. This one's, the window here's got another metal piece here instead of the plastic, and everything opens up. It hasn't been open in a while, so everything opens just fine. Everything probably needs to be lubed, and like I said, the seals could stand to be replaced. You can see there was some sort of a seal up in there, rubber piece or something that's probably completely disintegrated, and that's probably why it's not there anymore. But for the most part, there's just very little to do in here. Maybe some cleanup on the drain there, and the shower door. I said there's some trim here, which I do have the trim pieces. They were gold, obviously, like this. My vision was to kind of replace the entire shower door. I painted it black for now, just to kind of see if I could replace, or not spend as much money yet and see if I could reclaim it. But my vision ultimately was to replace it. But it's not in bad shape. There's one small little crack there, but it's not leaking any water. So you may want to end up redoing that. The countertop here is in good condition. I was just going to replace it with something like a little metal top or something like that, but just never got around to it. But everything works just fine. As far as the floor goes, so when I first got the camper, I completely ripped out pretty much everything except the cabinets. Like all the floors that had the original carpet in it was pretty old and just disintegrated. So you can see by some of the pictures that we ripped everything up, and we made sure the floor was completely solid. We didn't have to replace anything. There was no rotted pieces, nothing. And so I wanted to try and put hardwood on it, but and this is bamboo flooring, and it's kind of the hardest stuff that you can get out there. This I just got it from Home Depot. Not crazy expensive because you don't need a whole lot of it, but it didn't really hold up like I had thought it would. There's some water damage in the back, and I think so. When I first got the camper, I didn't have stairs, and when I was in here working on the cabinets, trying to figure out what I was going to do with it in an enclosed area, at nighttime, I actually fell out of the back of the camper and broke my ankle, and so I apparently left the door cracked, and you can see that it rained, and I didn't get to it before realizing that the door was cracked. And nothing crazy. These pieces are floating, and this whole floor could be completely, it's like a puzzle. You can just take out one pieces, and the trim hasn't been put on the sides exactly because I wanted to address this issue before putting the trim. So you could take apart this floor, use the pieces as a pattern, and probably put a brand new floor down in an afternoon. So the floors, like I said, there's a little bit of water damage over there, and it's because I had cracked the door open while having to go to the hospital and deal with my broken ankle. But it's in okay shape over here. I think it was at a little bit of an angle in the driveway that I had. So where I was doing work on it, so I think some of the top water went under. The good news is that I put a vapor barrier underneath, so there's no water damage underneath because it's all sealed with a vapor barrier, and it can't penetrate that barrier. So everything is completely solid, no issues, nothing to worry about there. I have not come across any rot besides some of the cabinet pieces being dried out, just from being brittle from just being so old. The worst pieces that I had were these pieces here, which of course I've rebuilt completely, and because when it's off of the camper, this is exposed to the outside. So these had to be rebuilt. These three, this one here, and that one there. So it's all done now. This is where the poly tank is, and I think I pulled this off and showed you. It's also doubles as a step. You can kind of see the poly tank, and you can see in some of the pictures that I provided that are in the OneDrive link when this was under construction. And that tank was made by Kent RV specifically for this application. And like I said, they did all the plumbing work and did a fantastic job. And I haven't had not one drop of issues with plumbing. It's never been back for any kind of plumbing problems or issues. And I believe I have all the records for all the plumbing. I mean, the plumbing is probably half of what I'm asking for the camper in itself of what I have just invested in the plumbing alone. Let's see what else. Of course, we got the new stairs. They glow in the dark. These little tabs, and then they just fold up neatly and tuck underneath the camper just nicely. So overall, it needs a little bit of work, but it's really rare. I really highly doubt you're going to find another one of these fully polished This thing is going to be just absolutely gorgeous. If you don't like attention, don't bid on this, because I get a lot of people coming to look at it. The few times I've had it camping, it was just constant people asking about it, not realizing that there were actual aluminum campers that went on trucks. Is it an Airstream? What is it? So it seemed like the more panels that I got polished, the more attention that it got. So fully completed, it's going to be amazing. And I know of only one other one out of probably the 14 that we know that exist based off the Facebook Owners Club. I'm sure there's a few here and there that are around, maybe in people's yards, and they just aren't doing anything with them. But there's only one other one that I know of that has been fully polished, and it's just stunning. And his hasn't done anything on the inside, just the outside. So I just wanted to really go to a good home. I don't have the time for it anymore. It wasn't something that I really got into to use to go camping a lot. I got divorced and needed a project to kind of keep me out of the bars and keep me sane, and so this is kind of what I bought to keep my mind off of things. So kind of go over now just some of the things that come with it. Those are some of the tie downs, although they aren't required because we have the fast guns here. Those in itself are worth probably $700 for those 4 pieces. Those stainless tie downs, they're very expensive. They're called quick guns. So those come with it. There's the edge trim that I was mentioning earlier that goes around the back, and there's some electrical cables and stuff that come with it. Some hose, some of the new sewer line that goes into a sewer that have not been used as of yet. Some trim pieces. Those are the original type burst starburst lights, and there is a source that I know of that remade these. They were very difficult to find, so these are new ones, and they are built exactly to spec like the old ones. So these are the ones that are pulled off to do the polishing. There are still some that are remaining because we haven't pulled those off to do the polishing yet, so those need to be removed, and then once you get it polished, those can be put back on. And these have all, I believe, been converted to LEDs. There's the silver streak signs that go in the front and the rear. The white ones are reproductions. The original one, and you saw the other original one in the inside there. This one we had repainted, and it needs to be glued if you want to use the original one. And the other one's in good shape. And then like I said, I have 2 of the reproductions, so you can choose which ones you kind of want to use. The original badges that go on the back. This is the original handle that goes in the back. I just kind of experimented around with this wrap product. It needs to be, if you're going to take the wrap off, it needs to be re-chromed. These are the shelves for inside of one of the cabinets. The mirrors for the bathroom. There's the fan there for in the kitchen. That needs to be reinstalled with the metal filter there, and the light, under cabinet light. So when you get finished with, putting the backsplash on, those can be reinstalled. And like I said, there's the other pieces for the backsplash, and all of everything you need to grout, and all the glue and everything that you need to finish that. These are some of the trim pieces that I mentioned from like the bathroom. That were removed, that you can put back on. This little piece right here, you can see that. Put it down. It goes over the back of the door, in the very back, right there. So that needs to be finished being polished and reinstalled. That's the original piece. And then in the bathroom, this is the material that I was using, or was thinking about using, and it's long enough to go completely around, so you can remake this if you didn't want to use it with new material, if you wanted to. Just kind of a different look. I have all of the original pieces that I've pulled off and I've kept. So all of the original pieces for all of the old, like I said, brass, door pieces. I have everything here that's ever been removed from the unit. Lots of things that come with it as far as electrical connectors and you know, stainless screws. I've invested a lot of money in stainless steel screws, so that all comes with the camper. And then here's all the polishing equipment that I've invested in, including one of the actual polishers that's going to go to Chicago. It's just a Harbor Freight polisher. So these are quite expensive. Have new ones, including a bunch of the different bars and things that you would use, the different stages, and some polish, very expensive stuff. Sanders, respirators, everything that you would need to do to finish the first few stages of polishing, including lots of the different kinds of sanding pads, foam pads that you use on the different various stages. So there's a bunch of those in there. And you know exactly, you know, which ones you need to get. There's probably, you know, probably still need a bit. Like that one's a 2000 to finish the job. Let's see. So there's some tarps that come with it. These are the handles for the jacks, which I'll go over in a minute. And those are some of the handles that put down inside of here. There's, I don't know if you can see it, but there's wheels and little front feet. So once you have it down off of the jacks, you don't have to keep it on the jacks. You can just use these internal feet. The ones in the back have wheels, although I wouldn't recommend using them. I don't know, I've never used them. And then it has feet that come out of the bottom here. So I'm gonna walk around back here and show you the jacks. Here's the new jacks I invested in. These work great. There's 4 of them, one per corner. It's it's a little interesting to get on a truck, especially when it's the height of my truck. Back in the 60s, the trucks were a lot lower. So depending on how tall your truck is, you may end up having to put some blocks underneath those jacks so that you're not at the limits of the jack. But getting it off and on, if the truck were lower, is actually no problem. And getting it even off when the truck is compressed, and my truck only takes about 10 minutes, but getting it on by yourself is probably about an hour job, because you have to go and make sure the jacks are all the same levels, and do everything slowly, safely. And it's good. It would be a lot easier if the trucks were lowered. And my F-250 is not jacked up, but it could. If you're going to put it on an older camper or an older truck, like a camper special or something like that, you'll absolutely have 0 issues. It'll be a breeze. But the taller, newer trucks are a little bit more challenging. So just be aware of that. But it can definitely be done. So, as you can see, I try and keep my stuff really nice, and I just definitely want this project to go to somebody who's going to appreciate it for what it is, and finish it and enjoy it. I've enjoyed my time with it, and it's actually done me a lot of good for my mental health to have projects and things like this. So now it's just time for me to move on. I just don't have the time. I'm living in an apartment now, and this is at my sister's house, so I really don't have a time to complete it, or have all my tools and everything necessary to finish it. Although I've been dragging my feet for quite a while to get this up for sale and make a video and explain everything correctly to people, just because I think a little bit of me just doesn't really want to get rid of it. So but unfortunately it's time, and I really hope that it goes to somebody who can finish it the way that it deserves to be, and then just really enjoy it. So happy bidding, and if you guys have any more questions, please feel free to let me know. Thank you very much.